People started to disappear.
Just gone.
The town of Portlock, Alaska, was once a peaceful village near the sea, but was transformed into a desolate ghost town after 4 attempts to call it home.
Portlock was cursed and Bigfoot's place and nobody goes there.
Overnight, everybody left.
The first documented explorer to set foot in Portlock was a British captain named Nathaniel Portlock, who arrived in 1785. This encounter marked the beginning of its cursed history, with people disappearing and bodies being discovered in horrifying conditions. Portlock's crew found remnants of an old native village, which puzzled them. The land was rich with game and fish, making it an ideal place for a community to thrive. However, the previous settlers abandoned the area despite the mystery. Portlock's crew decided to establish a settlement, but soon fell ill, accompanied by intense fear and a creeping sense of dread that overtook even the strongest among them. Unbeknownst to them, they were not the first Europeans to experience the strange forces surrounding Portlock. Just 6 years before their arrival, a group of Spanish explorers had attempted to settle in the same area. They found it odd that such a bountiful land had been deserted by its original inhabitants. Like Portlock's men, they were soon plagued by a strange sickness and a sense of overpowering fear. The crew gave in to the fear and sickness, and eventually fled waves of fear. Both Portlock's and the Spanish crews had endured harsh conditions and brutal climates before, but something about this place made them abandon their dissolution. One theory emerged was that infrasound, a low-frequency sound wave produced by certain mammals, could be the culprit. Even the most resilient creatures like tigers use infrasound to paralyze their prey, and it is believed that sperm whales also employ similar tactics to terrify their targets into stillness. For over 80 years, Portlock remained abandoned, left untouched by human hands. In 1867, a group of nomadic Suak native to the region decided to settle there, finding an abundance of resources from clams and fish to moose roaming the forests. Their peace was short-lived when they faced attacks, but the true nature of the predator remained unknown. The Suak tribe in Portlock, Alaska, encountered terrifying cannibal giants who descended upon their village with insatiable hunger. These giants raided the village with brutality, causing the villagers to attempt to fight to defend their newfound home. However, the relentless attacks wore them down strangely, and as food in the forest grew scarcer, the giants returned each time more bloodthirsty than before. As the animals were scarce, the giants attacked Portlock again, driving the Suak away from their home once more. In 1905, the Suak left Portlock, but not without tales of their terrifying encounters with these giants. In 1921, the nomadic community of Russian Alu arrived, bringing with them the progress and security of the 20th century. They established a bustling cannery, built a post office, a school, and other essential facilities to build a true modern town for the existence of Bigfoot. The Alu knew the legends of Portlock well, thanks to their Suak ancestors who had fled years ago. To protect themselves, they enforced strict rules, including a nightly curfew, armed guards, a school, and even the streets. The Utic community avoided the fog and dense forest at all costs, staying indoors on foggy days. Portlock thrived in peace until one fateful event shook the town to its core. In 1931, a logger named Andrew Clock ventured into the forest, breaking the unspoken rule to stay near the edges. When he failed to return, his friends organized a search party hoping to find him alive. Clock's body lay in a mangled state, with his head crushed by his own sled. His loyal dogs were discovered torn to shreds nearby, and the sled itself was flung far from the scene. The men who found Clock's remains were speechless, unable to understand the violent display before them, leaving the town on edge. Another resident, Tom Larson, ventured out to chop wood for fish traps and saw a massive hairy creature standing upright. The town of Portlock, a small town in the South Pacific, is haunted by a mysterious creature that seems too large and animalistic to be human. The creature, which appears to be a vengeful spirit, has been stalking the town for years. The town's residents have been terrified by the creature's vengeful nature, believing it to hold a grudge against those who threaten its herd. As more residents vanish without a trace, the unseen predator begins to reveal its true nature. The people initially attribute the disappearances to various causes, but as bodies began turning up in increasingly gruesome states, the truth became undeniable. Some bodies were found ashore in the bay with deep claws and bite marks, while others were found mauled beyond recognition. The UTI, United Tribes, tried to return to their original strict rules, but no amount of caution seemed capable of stopping the creature that had developed a taste for human flesh. Most residents began to accept that the Kayenkanak was real, though some skeptics believed it was the work of an exceptionally clever bear. The UTI tried everything to defend themselves, increasing the number of guards and enforcing curfews with greater vigilance. Yet nothing seemed to stop the creature that seemed determined to hunt them down. Body after body continued to turn up along trails near rivers and even in the bay, often so mutilated that they were nearly unrecognizable. Official reports claimed around 15 people had gone missing, but the UTI insisted the true number was far higher. The townspeople began to lose hope, and eventually, the mounting death toll made life in Portlock unbearable. In 1950, the elite made a decision that defied conventional evacuation plans. They left suddenly and without warning, leaving behind only a post office worker. This lone man, staying on duty to fulfill the last obligations of the town's service, barricaded himself inside the post office to fulfill his last obligations. The town's inhabitants are left to grapple with the growing threat of the Kayenkanak and the uncertainty of their survival. Portlock, a town in the United States, has a rich history of haunting stories and legends. The town's inhabitants were once known to hear heavy two-legged footsteps echoing through the empty streets of the abandoned village. However, by 1951, the town was deserted, and the no-no had developed a relentless hunger for human prey. This hunger extended beyond the boundaries of Portlock encounters, as seen in 1969 when a hunter ventured into the forest near the ghost town to track wild goats. In 1973, 3 hunters sought refuge from a storm in Portlock, where they found themselves huddled together, unable to sleep. They heard unintelligible sounds and footsteps, hinting at something human yet monstrous. The tracks in the grass also seemed to indicate that the creature walked on 2 feet, hinting at something human yet entirely monstrous. Another group of hunters experienced an equally unsettling encounter while tracking a moose. They came upon a set of footprints that stopped them in their tracks, which were over 18 inches long and unmistakably man-like, yet far too large to belong to any human. The hunters followed the massive prints, realizing that they were not the only ones tracking the moose in a clearing. Evidence of a fierce struggle, the moose tracks abruptly stopped, suggesting that whatever had left those colossal prints had won the battle. The stories of the no-no-no endured as reminders of the chilling encounters that drove an entire community away. The lessons of Portlock served as a stark warning that some places are best left undisturbed. One of the most recent and eerie accounts of the creature haunting Portlock comes from 1990, when an Anchorage paramedic was called to assist a 70-year-old Utique inmate who had suffered a heart attack in Eagle River Jail. The elder, who had once hunted in the forests near Portlock, suddenly sprang up, gripping the paramedic's shirt with terror, asking if he saw it or if it bothered him. While some argue that Portlock's mysterious misfortunes can be explained by more mundane causes, such as the disfigured bodies attributed to the no-no-no, others believe that the town's dark history is a result of its unique history and the presence of supernatural forces. The legend of the no-no-no, a 2-legged creature that roamed in Alaska's forests, has been a subject of debate and speculation. Some believe it was a tragic accident, while others suggest it might have been a seizure or a tragic accident. The coincidence of events, the seizure, attack, and Clock's severe injuries demands an extraordinary alignment of circumstances. Over the years, up to 30 people disappeared in Portlock, with their deaths often attributed to the hazardous conditions and dangerous professions of fishing, logging, and hunting. Skeptics argue that bears, not mythical creatures, were responsible for the mutilated remains discovered along the rivers and in the bay. However, locals maintain that what they witnessed was unlike any bear attack. One peculiar finding in Portlock defies simple explanation. as the AI Utic often came across trees that had been uprooted and driven back into the ground upside down. Skeptics might argue that an unusual hurricane or storm could have caused this, but many locals insist it's a phenomenon associated only with the non. Alaska's laws permit residents to kill animals that pose a threat to life or property, but the entire community vanished nearly overnight in 1950. Some suggest that the ALU were attempting to outwit an intelligent predator that might have retaliated if it's sensing the people preparing for battle. Bigfoot typically gets out of the woods during hunting season, and it seems like we get more reports in the spring and fall when humans are in the forest with weapons. Some residents, like Sally Ash, have a different story to tell, arguing that Portlock's abandonment had nothing to do with a monster. She attributed the move to better economic opportunities, schools and churches in other areas such as Nanik and Seldovich. Ash's version of events becomes complicated when considering the testimony of her cousin, Melania Kell, who spoke openly about the knock, insisting that her people left Portlock because it was killing them. The legend of the No-No-No raises questions about the origins of the creature, the strict rules for going outside, and the mysterious nature of Portlock. It also raises questions about the unknown rains and the mysterious nature of the region.